information in batches called blocks that are linked together in a chronological fashion to form a continuous line, metaphorically, a chain of blocks. If you make a change to the information recorded in a particular block, you don't rewrite it. Instead, the change is stored in a new block, showing that X changed to Y at a particular date and time. Sound familiar? That's because blockchain is based on the centuries-old method of the general financial ledger. It's a non-destructive way to track data changes over time. Here's one example. Let's say there was a dispute between Anne and her brother Steve over who owns a piece of land that's been in the family for years. Because blockchain technology uses the ledger method, there is an entry in the ledger showing that Adam first owned the property in 1900. When Adam sold the property to Dave in 1930, a new entry was made in the ledger, and so on. Every change of ownership of this property is represented by a new entry in the ledger, right up until Anne bought it from their father in 2007. Anne is the current owner, and we can see that history in the ledger. Now, here's where things get really interesting. Unlike the age-old ledger method, originally a book, then a database file stored on a single system, blockchain was designed to be decentralized and distributed across a large network of computers. This decentralizing of information reduces the ability for data tampering and brings us to the second factor that makes blockchain unique. It creates trust in the data. Before a block can be added to the chain, a few things have to happen. First, a cryptographic puzzle must be solved, thus creating the block. The computer that solves the puzzle shares the solution to all of the other computers on the network. This is called proof of work. The network will then verify it as proof of work, and if correct, the block will be added to the chain. The combination of these complex math puzzles and verification by many computers ensures that we can trust each and every block on the chain. Because the network does the trust building for us, we now have the opportunity to interact directly with our data in real time. And that brings us to the third reason blockchain technology is such a game changer. No more intermediaries. Currently, when doing business with one another, we don't show the other person our financial or business records. Instead, we rely on trusted intermediaries, such as a bank or lawyer, to view our records and keep that information confidential. These intermediaries build trust between the parties and are able to verify, for example, that, yes, Anne is the rightful owner of this land. This approach limits exposure and risk, but also adds another step to the exchange, which means more time and money spent. If Anne's land title information was stored in a blockchain, she could cut out the middleman, her lawyer, who would ordinarily confirm her information with Steve. As we now know, all blocks added to the chain have been verified to be true and can't be tampered with, so Anne can simply show Steve her land title information secured on the blockchain. Anne would save considerable time and money by cutting out the middleman. This type of trusted peer-to-peer interaction with our data can revolutionize the way we access, verify, and transact with one another. And because blockchain is a type of technology and not a single network, it can be implemented in many different ways. Some blockchains can be completely public and open to everyone to view and access. Others can be closed to a select group of authorized users, such as your company, a group of banks, or government agencies. And there are hybrid public-private blockchains too. In some, those with private access can see all the data, while the public can see only selections. In others, everyone can see all the data, but only some people have access to add new data. A government, for example, could use a hybrid system to record the boundaries of Anne's property and the fact that she owns it while keeping her personal information private. Or it could allow everyone to view property records, but reserve to itself the exclusive right to update them. It is the combination of all these factors, decentralizing of the data, building trust in the data, and allowing us to interact directly with one another and the data that gives blockchain technology the potential to underpin many of the ways we interact with one another. But, much like the rise of the internet, this technology will bring with it all kinds of complex policy questions around governance, international law, security, and economics.
So I hope little understanding of what blockchain is and why blockchain is such a game changer. Yeah? If we look at our system, how the legal process is being handled, how land ownership is being handled, how asset ownership is being handled, the financial system, blockchain is the answer to tracking. It even has applications in logistics, yeah, purchasing and supplies, yeah. So in Internet of Things, like blockchain can be implemented in so many, a wide arena of industries, yeah, when you look at it from the applications part, yeah. So I'll just introduce to you very briefly what blockchain is about. That video actually gives someone a very, very good understanding of what blockchain is about, the basics and the fundamentals, yeah? So we've learned, number one, blockchain is a way that it's a distributed ledger system, yeah? It's a way that you can track, you can record, you can track, and you can store data, and that data cannot be tampered with by anyone. No administrator can come and change what has been stored in the blockchain, yeah? So that's why blockchain is such a game changer. Initially in the system, as was before, in the networks that we were handling, we always used to have an administrator. Like, the networks were always centralized. There's always a central point of connectivity for the network, yeah? That means the central point always has access to the entire network and can make changes however it is they feel like, But blockchain is totally different. It's distributed in that each and every single node in a network has the transactions, yeah? So you cannot tamper with one node thinking that it will reflect on the others. No, all the other nodes have the transaction, so there's no way you can tamper with one. The only way to change the transaction is add a new node or a new block onto the network, yeah? So there's always some history that you can be able to track. This was done at time X, date Y, then 1 year later, this was changed to this, then another few months later, this was changed to this. You can track from the beginning to the very end, yeah? So this is how a blockchain looks like. Just blocks stored and connected by a chain, yeah? So today we are going to debunk the difference between blockchain and Bitcoin, because many people know Bitcoin as blockchain, like they're confused. What is Bitcoin? What is blockchain? Those are two different things, yeah? Bitcoin is just one of the applications of blockchain, but blockchain has an array of wide applications, which we've already seen, yeah? So this is how a blockchain works, yeah? So there's a transaction that occurs and it's stored in a block. Then the blocks are connected. There's one before it, the first transaction, there's a middle one, the second, third one, like that. They keep on following each other in a chronological manner, yeah? So their blocks are stored together, yeah, in the form of a network, and then each and every single one that is added onto it is irreversible. You can't grab off the data from it, yeah? The only way to change is to add a new block with new changes. So this is a very interesting cartoon. Let's look at it. Let's see the difference between robot, the android that's at the top, moving. This can clearly show us the difference between a centralized network, a decentralized network, and a distributed network, yeah? So when you look at the robot, it's shooting. It's shooting, and it's like, this is a visual representation to show you what happens when a node fails, yeah? In a centralized network, you can see when the central node is switched off, the entire network goes off, yeah? This is what happens. Look at a decentralized network. When one node is switched off, not the entire block goes off, it's just the area that the node was controlling, yeah? And now look at what happens in a distributed network. You shoot off one node, it just lights up immediately after. Why? Because all nodes have the data of that one node. So shooting out one node will not make a difference, yeah? So blockchain is in the distributed ledger technology. So this is how it operates. There's no way you can change the data that's been stored in there, yeah? So it's actually very good when it comes to verifying things, verification processes, verification of titles, of land, of medical records, yeah, things like that, or assets. What is Bitcoin? Bitcoin is an application of blockchain. So how the technology was made is what the initial blockchain that was created, for every block to be added onto the network, a cryptographic puzzle had to be solved. I think you've seen it in the video, yeah? So when that puzzle was solved by whichever node, the reward released to that node was Bitcoin. It was released in the form of Bitcoin. So how did Bitcoin start growing? Yeah, that's the question. Like, where did it come from? How did it start growing? So from that fact that the nodes were being rewarded with the Bitcoin, people started seeing value in it. People started transacting in it. Yeah, and how does a currency gain value? It's based on the application, the people who are actually dealing with it, and its use cases. So that's how it grew its value, and that's how people started transacting in it, yeah? Initially, people never thought it would ever get to where it is right now, yeah? But right now, when you look at it, it's, you know, Bitcoin is like the head cryptocurrency. We have a whole industry on the side of cryptocurrencies with about 8,000 different cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin being the major one, yeah? And this all started 12 years ago in 2008, just from a single network with nodes that were being rewarded every time they solved a puzzle, and that's how Bitcoin came about. So Bitcoin is just an application of blockchain technology, one of the many other applications. So that's the difference. So here we can see the different applications we have in blockchain, yeah? So we have the sharing of medical data, as I told you, yeah? Actually, currently, as we speak, there is a project that's ongoing, yeah, with KNH, in storing the medical records of people in the blockchain to be able to identify, you know, once you get into the hospital, the doctor doesn't have to start looking through the old files and all that, no? They just key in your ID number on the computer, and they can be able to track all your medical records on the blockchain. So that's one of the applications. That's actually being applied in Kenya. Another that I know of is Rwanda is working with Microsoft to actually store the land titles and land ownership records on the blockchain also, yeah? So all this is done for tracking, for verification, to avoid people transacting illegally. You've heard of people getting illegal land titles. You've heard of people paying for property. And then, you know, once you go to verify in the lands office, you realize, oh, that property doesn't even belong to you. They tell you, oh, this property has a different owner, and you already bought it from an agent. You spend money, you know. So those are the things that blockchain is actually coming to make sure do not happen, yeah? So we have very many applications. We have IoT systems, we have cross-border payments, yeah, as a result of now the Bitcoin that started up and all other altcoins that followed after, yeah, so people use them to do cross-border transactions, like from Kenya to Uganda to even outside of Africa to America to Europe. You can send e-money to someone very, very easily using cryptos, yeah, on the blockchain, and you can be able to track the transactions on the internet. So we have real estate processing, we have supply chain logistics, we have personal identity systems, which is also known as KYC also. If you've interacted with some of the blockchain systems, you'll realize that you always have to do your KYC, which is you have to upload your ID, you know, and you have to upload your residential address to actually verify that you are who you are, and take a photo of yourself using your computer camera or your phone camera, yeah? So all that is stored on the blockchain, and it's used to actually verify that it's you. Whenever you want to log in any other blockchain system, the data is always there to be able to verify that you are who you say you are, yeah? This is to avoid cybercrime on the internet. Yeah, so we have the government, we have the media, we have logistics, we have money transfer, Internet of Things, yeah? So something new that has also come up in the blockchain space very, very recently is now in line with also the 4IR's use of AI systems in as far as generating passive income in the blockchain space. Yeah, this is using AI systems, smart systems, to be able to scan through the markets, because these markets have like 8,000 different cryptocurrencies. Yeah, to be able to scan through the markets to identify the currencies that have the most potential and good moves during the day, so that they can execute trades automatically for you. Yeah, so they enter and exit, and they enter at a certain time, and when a certain percentage of profit is gained, they exit automatically. Yeah, so these are AI systems. So it's a whole different side of how people are going to do business, and it's actually revolutionizing how people do business on the internet. Yeah. Very recently, we had the central bank actually announcing that we have plans in place to start now developing the central bank's digital currency. Why is this being done? Because America is already doing it. China has already released their own central bank digital currency, and it's currently being tested with a mass population as is. Yeah. So Kenya is also like trying to pull up their socks to follow suit. Yeah. So this actually is the future of money. And especially if you've been tracking it, you know that this year, blockchain and cryptos have really, really boomed with COVID. With the onset of COVID, and the World Health Organization recommending that people actually transact virtually more and avoid the cash systems, people go cashless. So there's actually been a very, very big boom on the side of cryptos because of that specifically. So right now, as we look at it, we have the price of Bitcoin at about $23,000. You know, no one ever saw it. Right now, Bitcoin is like 2.5 million Kenya shillings, one, you know, from zero in a span of 10 years. So this is actually, it's the technology that's behind it. It's solving so many challenges that have currently been brought up recently in the system. Yeah. So that's why very many people are actually moving into it. Governments are actually building confidence in as far as transacting virtually is concerned. Yeah. So this is actually the line that most technology is transitioning to as we head towards 5G. Yeah. So I'm in a space where I offer mass education to people on how this technology can be used to your benefit. Yeah. So we do offer trainings to people. We offer mentorship. We start from children as early as 8 years to teach them how to transact on these systems online. Yeah. Because this is our future. This is what is happening right now. Once you hear central banks are getting into it, yeah, so people need to be on their toes, yeah. So, and you know how it works, the early bird always touches the worm. And we notice that there is a challenge. The challenge is that there are no systems and measures in place to teach people how to use these systems effectively and safely, in a safe way. Because as much as it's new, it's something that's new and there's a lot of excitement and people want to get into it, but many people do not know how to start. Where do they put a foot in? Many people don't even know what the technology is all about or even understand it, yeah? But I hope, like right now, from that basic introduction and the video that you just saw and everything, I hope that it has at least opened up your mind on what blockchain is all about, what it is, so that next time when you go out and someone tells you, have you heard about blockchain, or you know what is happening, at least you do have an understanding. Yeah. So you can also, there are so many opportunities in this space. Just looking at it, looking at the applications, looking at the onset of what this year has brought. Because this year, what happened is when COVID checked in March, people were forced to move digitally. Communication moved digital, interaction went digital, because now you are constricted into physical interactions, yeah? So in such a situation, tech innovators were actually pushed to come up with solutions that would take us 5 years to be able to develop. Just because COVID came, innovators had to think and think very fast. How do we solve some of these challenges? What can we do? What can we, what solutions can we offer to actually make it easier for people to transact, to to interact, to do all these things, yeah? Business-wise, because businesses were collapsing, but if you transition to the digital space, at least there is some hope, yeah? So the digital space really, really boomed from early this year up until now, and it's just rising and it keeps on growing, yeah? So this is actually the right time to be able to learn this new technology, to be able to find a footing. If you're someone who's interested in coding, there are so many opportunities to become a blockchain developer, yeah? Because building all these systems requires someone with coding skills, yeah? So if you're good in programming, if you're good in coding, it's a very, very good place to get into, yeah? If you're interested in AI, yeah? It's a good space to get into also, to learn how to use the artificial intelligence systems to be able to scan through the markets. If you want to go into the crypto space, if you want to go into the training space, there's a lot of opportunity in training because the masses of people don't understand the technology and how it works. You can learn it and you can be an educator, you can be a developer, you can, I think there are just so many opportunities and it's such a new and fresh area to venture into. So that's why I saw it very, very important to talk about it today. Yeah, so that's all I have for you today, right now, and I hope it has opened up your mind in this new 4IR and blockchain and AI boom that we are talking about. So thank you very much for having me. And if you'd like to get in touch with me, of course I can give you my card or my number. You can call me anytime. If you want to learn, if you want to look for mentorship somewhere where you can get a footing in this space, I'm open, and that's why I'm here. Yeah. So thank you so much.